So this is going to be my spoiler-free review of Halloween Ends, the latest chapter in the tale of the boogeyman himself, Michael Myers. Now, I'm thankful for this revival of the Halloween series over the past few years, mainly because slasher films are my personal favorite type of horror film. There's just something fun about watching these iconic figures do their thing, even if at times it doesn't lead to the best movies. Now, 2018's Halloween, the revival of the series, I thought was not just a great slasher film, but just an excellent movie overall. It was a beautiful, epic continuation of the original Halloween that had the proper intensity, continued the original's legacy, and showcased the ever-present struggle between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. Then you had Halloween Kills, and while it was not without its moments of entertainment, was definitely not as smart and did some absolutely ridiculous things with Michael Myers, mainly turning him into some kind of action hero who can somehow take on 20 people at once, Batman style. And now we have Halloween Ends, which according to its title, promised to be the end of this trilogy and possibly the entire Michael Myers saga. Without going too much into sort of major plot details with this synopsis, it's still Haddonfield, and it's Michael Myers, and eventually he gets back to his old trips of terrorizing all of Haddonfield, including Laurie Strode and her granddaughter Allison. But this time, well, let's say he has a little help in coming back. I'm being very vague with that synopsis because from my experience watching this film, I did not watch any of the trailers. All I saw was glimpses of TV spots here and there. I did this because one, these days I don't feel the need to watch every trailer that comes out, and two, I assumed that this was going to be a direct continuation of Halloween Kills, similar to how Kills took place right after Halloween 2018. Well, I ended up being dead wrong about this, as this film's core narrative is very separated from Halloween Kills, taking place a few years later. I didn't hate this as it allowed us to see Laurie and Allison in different phases of their life. Laurie gets a lot of development here as she is no longer that paranoid recluse that she was in 2018, and both her and Allison play key roles in each other's lives as they provide comfort for each other in their healing after the Michael Myers tragedy. This ended up being a pleasant surprise when it came to the narrative. The major surprise here, though, when it came to the narrative is that even though this is Halloween Ends, you would think the core focus of the film would be Michael and his rampage. Well, that ends up being anything but. Much of this film surprisingly focuses on a new character named Corey, a young man who's around Allison's age. He's part of a tragic accident that takes place at the start of the film, and that continues to plague him years later to where he ends up getting comfort from two very different sources, I'll put it that way. I think Corey's story here is actually an interesting one. The opening scene that he's a part of is very tense and has a holy shit goddamn payoff moment, but you still understand why things happen from his perspective. But then so much of this film ends up focusing on him, to where I started to question, this is supposed to be the end of this Michael Myers saga story, right? Unlike the previous two films, 2018 and Halloween Kills, Michael is really pushed to the sidelines here and is hardly any kind of active force throughout the film. The way the story was playing out, it actually made me think that the direction that this film was going in actually resembles the original idea they had for this franchise, which is an anthology series, where the films that took place after the original two Halloween films would be different separated stories that took place during Halloween time, which is why the third film, Season of the Witch, was the way it was. Now that film ended up sucking, and to be honest, a lot of this film, specifically the middle, sucks also. This film has some ridiculously stupid character motivations and development for all of our core characters here. That's Laurie, Allison, Corey, and Michael himself. Laurie, I can cut a little bit of slack here because she was well-intentioned in what she was doing, at least in the beginning. But everyone else? Yikes. Allison's motivation is pretty stupid and comes out of nowhere. And you notice that I included Michael on this list. His character is in the position we really have not ever seen close to being in this kind of position before, and takes on a relationship that was just crazy to see unfold. Now, I will admit, I did have a level of intrigue during these scenes because it was just so crazy to see his character in this kind of position and state, but the writing was quite odd to say the least. I'll leave it at that. Coming back to Corey, his story eventually goes off the rails, leading to the film's sort of final 30 and 40 minutes. Now, for as much as the film was sucking for a decent stretch, I gotta admit, the film at least got a little bit back on track for me. The movie has some decent stuff that ended up catching me off guard during this section, and then the kills began to happen with a lot more extreme frequency. The first of these scenes, without spoiling it, was an extended sequence that was really awesome. All of the kills that took place in it were great. The intensity was great. The buildup was great. I thought it was a great scene. There was also another kill a little later that will leave you speechless. If you've seen the film and seen the kill, you know what I'm talking about. Besides some fun stuff when it comes to the kills, the characters, besides one notable one, began to act in a much more sensible manner, and we got some nice intensity and struggle in the film's final stretch as it worked to its conclusion. It all comes back to Laurie, who, even though this is the Michael Myers saga, it's just as much the Laurie Strode saga, as the film, specifically the ones she's in, well, specifically the ones Jamie Lee Curtis is in, are the only ones in the franchise that people seem to give a shit legacy-wise. Strode has some great badass moments, and Jamie Lee shows why she still owns this role, and why I think many are thankful that she's come back to be Laurie on more than one occasion. And to the film's credit, it does live up to the ends part in the title, and provides an actual ending for this trilogy, and possibly the whole Halloween series in terms of the main one with Michael. I did enjoy the ending, and I always say a strong ending can really help your feelings about a film. Now that's just feelings. The film overall at times was disastrous, and I can't quite get that out of my head. 5.5 though out of 10 though for Halloween Ends. If you're undecided in seeing it, well, you can always basically just watch it for free at home with Peacock. I saw this in a theater with a decent sized audience, and to be honest, there was actually applauding after the movie was done. I was definitely not one of them. Me and the friend that I saw it with more or less felt similarly about it. The ending definitely works, but the movie as a whole, very spotty to say the least. Going forward, I'd like to see the future of this series do sort of what this film teased, which is sort of like an anthology-style series centered on different stories around Halloween time. Because like I said, some of the stuff with Corey's story I actually thought was pretty interesting. Hopefully these stories don't end up sucking shit through a straw like Season of the Witch did. Any more sort of stories with these characters though, just your main ones like Laurie, Allison, or Michael, that would really just seem forced, so I think it's really time to move on from that. So that'll do it for this review of Halloween Ends. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.